There you go. Now try.
Ugh.
Hey,
You know what? I'm just
Oh,
gonna add.
you know what?
let me check out.
All right, I think maybe that works.
Off. All right, Tony. Ready?
Thank you for joining us. This is Tony Diaz, El Libro Traficante, author of The Tip of the Pyramid, Cultivating Community Cultural Capital. And we are live in California at Chucha Centro Cultural and Bookstore. We're going to find out how Texas and California can unite to defy book bans, which we have too many of, especially in Texas, and book deserts, which are proliferating the entire country. Anywhere you've got a Chicano community, there's they are ensconced in a book desert. So we have to talk about that. A couple other things I want to point out. Of course, we got the crew here. Here in Calipas, we got Brian Paras, Libro Traficante High Tech Aztec. We got Libro Traficante Lilo, Liana Lopez, Laura Acosta, who are not with us, but also part of the co-founders of the Libro Traficante movement. Last night we're at the Pico Youth and Family Community Center, which was a beautiful event. We got to see some of the early pioneers of the Ethnic Studies program in Tucson. But I want to make it clear, we're having a great time, but we're trying to help people build curriculum for the classroom, for the living room, and for the community. So yes, you need to get the books into the classes, but that's not where it ends. So today we're going to talk about the evolution of the Achuchas. Of course, we're very happy to be here in the aura of Luis Rodriguez, who is one of the authors that was banned in Tucson. He was being taught on a daily basis till right wing Republican officials banned the curriculum. We're happy to unite with him to smuggle him back. So that's why we became the Libro Traficantes. We said, if you're going to ban our history and culture, we're going to make more. So we loaded a bus full of the contraband pros, opened underground libraries across the country 10 years ago. That's a little bit of what my book is about, but it's more about community cultural capital. So if you're watching, this is going to be useful to share with your familia, your cultural centers, also in the classroom. We're going to give you titles, authors, and techniques in corazon for how to take this material and make it relevant to folks. Again, like we said, could be a classroom, could be the living room, but that part we have to count on you to do that. So right now, I want to talk to our one of our friends, Michael Centeno, who is in charge of this great facility. So, Michael, thank you so much for opening up your facilities to us, rolling out the red carpet. Really wonderful to meet you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Welcome. Good to have you out here. Yeah, just excited to be here with you.
So I tell you what, tell folks just the basic facts about exactly where we are, the address, and a little bit about how long it's been around.
Yeah, definitely. So, Chucha Centro Cultural and Bookstore. We're here in Silmar, California. It was started back in 21 years ago now by our
Wow.
co-founders, Luis J. Rodriguez, who you mentioned, his wife Trini Rodriguez, and their brother-in-law Enrico Sanchez. It started as a for-profit bookstore cafe, Chucha's Cafe Cultural, a for-profit bookstore and coffee shop. But immediately when it opened, it just addressed the deep need in this community for a space like this, a space where people can come together, can have coffee, have books, read books, talk to each other, have dialogue, and then immediately people were so excited about the space that a lot of people just started to volunteer through their arts. So we have people, for example, musicians that started offering guitar classes on a donation base, teatro, people that were taught in theater would start offering theater workshops. Artisans would come and do arts and crafts on the weekends for families and kids. We started an open mic, which has been one of our longest running programs every Friday night for folks to come, both in English and Spanish. And then, myself, I started a film night where we were screening weekly independent films and documentaries. So immediately it just started a function, like a Centro. So our co-founders established a nonprofit arm, Diaz Centro, 5 years, so that we could get, grant funding and donations and all that to be able to keep some of these programs growing that grew organically with the community. So then 5 years in, we were forced out of the first location. The landlord actually wanted to bring a laundromat.
Really?
Believe it, yeah. So it was like, 5 years in, we're moving, it was building momentum, the community was coming out, started really developing the base pre-social media.
And what size was that site? How many square feet?
I would say probably like 2,000 square feet or so. But then we ended up renting a suite next to it, which is maybe like 500 square feet, where we would do programming similar to this. But yeah, we were pushed out of that location. We moved to the second location. We moved all of our coffee equipment into storage, and then they broke in and they stole it.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
So after that first move, we lost all the coffee shop equipment. The business dissolved its assets and donated them to the nonprofit. And from that moment on, it went forward as a nonprofit strictly, and that continued for now. 17, 15, 16 years. And now we moved 3 or 4 times. So there was a Cafe Cultural. We moved to the second location. That place didn't do well. It wasn't well situated, so we moved again. Our last location, and now this is our fourth location. Ironically, it's down the block from our original location here in Centro. But we're excited. We're here, 3,000 square feet. The largest space we've been in so far. A lot of space for our bookstore, designated space for our classes. And we're celebrating our 21st year this year.
That's fantastic. And it looks like you're using every single square inch.
Yeah, we're maximizing it to its fullest, for sure. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, you mentioned that Dia Chucha's began as a cafe. And I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because I think what our gente doesn't always realize, they know it profoundly, but maybe we don't talk about it, is that the business models, just like corporate art forms, corporate media forms, don't fit organically our community. But we have to try something. So one step was, well, let's do a business that will attract people. So that was the beginning of it. But you also responded to what the community wanted. So tell us, what were the challenges of trying to make it just as a cafe, which we could say is just a transaction of money for coffee grounds, and watching what it would then become?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think although that was like the main focus and the push, again, like we started to, it just organically grew in a very beautiful way where it became something much more than that. And I think they maybe knew it and understood it suddenly, but I don't think nobody really had the idea of what that would look like or what that would become. Because, the interesting thing, I think, the cafe, the coffee, all that stuff, it's about like breaking bread, and that's what our people do. They do it over food. We always do that, right? And then I think this is just another version. Then you throw into the mix, speakers, workshops, presentations. Then you add a layer of like education, right? A layer of community involvement, your voice being heard. And then that just elevates it to another level. Then you add in the books, right? The bookstore component, seeing and reading books by people that look like you, that represent you, your culture, and your identity. That's huge, right? That's not the same experience when you walk into a major bookstore, right? It's different. So I mean, it just becomes multi-layered. Then you have community coming and teaching classes, offering their art and sharing it with community, right? And then it just becomes multi-layered, and again, it just grew beautifully, organically on its own.
I love to hear that, and I think one thing that I talk about in my book is community cultural capital, which is exactly what you're describing. Because if you look at the cafe went away because the laundromats. So someone said, "I don't care about that.
Right.
Let's get how many machines can I fit in here, right?" And on their terms, it was clear to them.
Right.
Breaks my heart to hear about the theft of the coffee machines, but what they didn't take away was your knowledge of the community, that people wanted to give in, and that's what keeps growing. And I think you described too. So it's not just the books as products; it's them as an extension of community.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more. It's more than that. It's more than a product. And even now, we often say that we are the nonprofit is a tax classification. That's all it is.
Right.
We're much more, and we're beyond that, right? That's not. We're not a nonprofit. It's a classification. Yes, it's a term that we need to use, but
Well, and I mean, the part of it too is that just like our gente have to be documented. I mean, that's how they document our.
exactly right.
You gotta get los papeles
Right.
just to function.
Right.
But it's more than that because let's talk about that part. Would this be a book desert if Chucha's Centro Cultural and Bookstore was not here?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's no bookstores around here. Even more so now. You know, there's less bookstores around.
In
but
general,
in
across
general,
the board.
yeah. Even when we open, there's very few bookstores. I mean, yes, we have a library, but there's also something to be said again to book ownership, right? Being able to purchase books, being able to own books, but then also just again to see the types of books that are reflective of your community. And I remember, you know, very fondly those first 5 years. Anytime any Latino, Chicano author was coming to LA, let's say, they would stop at Diaz. You know, so we had everybody: Sandra Cisneros, Victor Villaseñor, Michelle Settles. You know, everybody would come by, and this was again pre-social media, right? Pre-internet kind of. So it was really about creating a community that appreciated, but also loved and access to literature.
Wow.
Right.
And I know folks are itching to get a look at the place. We're going to walk you through.
Yeah.
We'll walk you through in a little bit. But I do want to kind of dwell on what you pointed out. So it is Banned Books Week.
Yeah.
So we're touching bases on that. What I want to allude to is that, so as a Libro Traficantes, we started what we call underground libraries. But the whole point was that our community would have access to its books on its terms. Now, you mentioned libraries. Of course, we love libraries. But during the Trump era, I knew families that didn't want to go in and put their name on any cards that had to do with the government.
Yeah.
¿Verdad? Additionally, right now in Texas, there's a proliferation of book bans and there's a bullying. They're calling these anti-critical race theory campaigns. They're not. They're censorship bills, and we've seen them. We're experts in this. So then what happens is that outside forces are bullying librarians, educators, and families and students to keep the books out. That's where you come in, because not only are the books shared on the terms of the community, but you bring in expertise
Right.
to the picking of the books as
Right.
well,
The
and
curation.
how to display them and how to program them. Tell us a little bit about that. Esos toques de cultura y cariño.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's very important, right? That all of our books are carefully curated. We have an amazing bookstore team that goes through that. And you know, it's been being here for 21 years. It's been really great to see where we're at now in terms of overall literature. Like, there's so many great young adult books coming out written by people of color, right? Children's books. There's just so much more now. It's great. So it's very curated, and we make sure that we try to, you know, our best to try to make it as inclusive as possible, and just again try to keep our ear to what's happening in that world.
And if folks want to buy books online, can you tell them how?
Yeah. So you could go to our website, chucha.org/bookstore, and that'll take you to our online bookstore, where all of our inventory is online, so people could buy that way too. We can't do free shipping like Amazon, but what we tell people is that when you purchase from us, you know, that money is going back into the community. You know where it's going, and you're really making an impact here. Additionally, in addition to the bookstore, I just want to add that. Yes, we have a bookstore and we sell books, but every year as part of our annual Celebrating Words Festival, which last year was our 18th annual Celebrating Words Festival. The past 3 or 4 years, we've been distributing free books, brand new free books. So this last year, we distributed 1,000 free books.
Wow.
Across, you know, all reading levels from little kids to adults. English and Spanish.
Wow.
And most of the more toward the adults, dealing around themes of like mental health and mass incarceration as well.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to touch on too is that, of course, coming from Texas, we want to bring news of the Latino Bookstore, which is at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. This is the only Latino bookstore in Texas. Now, I mentioned that too, and I don't want it to sound like it's corporate competition. I say that too because if maybe we've overlooked the bookstore in Texas, we want them to be saying, hey, you missed us. But as of right now, that has not been the case. So I do want to trade notes and then also kind of build a bridge between the Latino bookstore, the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center in San Antonio, and Tia Chucha's here in Califa, so that we can start working together. Because some of the things that are happening over there, I see here. But I also love that 21 years later, you've got amazing stock, amazing history, 3,000 square feet,
Yeah.
great levels of programming.
Right.
And I'm the literary curator there. The director of the Guadalupe is Cristina Bai. That is also a book desert. It's on the west side of San Antonio. I've heard it's called the poorest zip code in Texas. Some have said in the country. And corporate bookstores do not go there. If you look at a map of San Antonio, the corporate bookstores are all above the I-10 corridor. There are some libraries, but like we mentioned, it is still important for families to feel they can have books. Let's talk about the challenges because yes, we want people to go online. We want them to come experience it. How tough is it to keep the doors open?
Yeah, that's good. It's amazing. It's really tough. It's not people don't go into the bookstore business to make money. It's a tough business, low margins. It's really really challenging. I think we're very fortunate in that we're again functioning under the umbrella of the nonprofit that we could support or subsidize anything with grant funding, individual donations. So that helps us out a lot. But I will say over the past 21 years, again, the bookstore has taken a long time to get to the point where it's at now to really grow. But we have seen, again, post pandemic, post, racial justice, there's a hunger and a need for social justice books. I think that really helped a lot and kind of catapult us to a new audience and people willing to, again, support independent bookstores online, which was huge to get through the pandemic. We had our doors closed for, I don't know, I think 8 to 12 months. We didn't have any customers. Everything was online. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of challenges, but again, we're fortunate in that we're able to do that. But I think we're also able to invest in an amazing team of staff that can really elevate and take us to the next level, that can utilize the social media to create just marketing and awareness, drive sales, drive traffic to our websites and more sales. Moving to this location, we have more foot traffic, so that's been helpful a lot. So we have seen doing also more outside events, more pop-ups, community gatherings, community events. All of those things have really helped us reach the point we're at now, which is our most, again, this last year was our most successful year.
Was it in the history?
Yes.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
I would like to focus a little bit more on the brass tacks, only because I want the folks to know that the Latino Bookstore San Antonio will get to this point, but I also want people to appreciate the sacrifices and the struggle that you're going through, the Latino bookstore is going through, because at the Latino bookstore, it's a smaller staff dedicated to that. It is part of the whole campus of the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. And right now at this stage, there's just a couple of curated main events. So there's the first Friday readings, and then there's some Saturday book readings. It is open on regular hours, 10 to 4, which is changing on Tuesday through Saturday. And it's a curated list of books. I think one big difference is that the Latino bookstore is located in the Progreso building, which is a historical site, but it's owned by the nonprofit. Do me a favor, react to some of those factors and tell me exactly how big your staff is and how many square footage you have here.
Yeah, so we have a square footage is 3,000 square feet.
Dang!
Yeah.
That's a lot of books, man!
Well, I would say maybe like half of that is books, right?
But the inventory is gorgeous.
Yeah,
we're going to walk through there, but I mean, as Libro Traficante is a book consumer, it was hard to get past that first of all.
And overall, as an organization, we have a staff of about 10.
Wow.
That includes, but that's mainly our core staff. We also have teaching artists and consultants we work with, but the core staff is about 10. In the bookstore team, we have about 5, give or take, depending on. We also have internships, with the county that we get a summer arts intern that helps out with the bookstore, and we also get internships with local schools, MSW internships with the local university.
Wow.
So that really helps the capacity overall to really give the attention needed to do what we need to do. We are open 7 days a week now.
Wow.
At this space, yes.
From what time to what time?
Typically 11 to 8. Yeah.
That's a lot of hours and a lot of days.
Yeah. Sundays we close a little earlier at 4 and Saturday at 6, but we found that we've been trying to kind of figure out what the best times and days are, but it just fluctuates so much. It's hard to really pin it down.
Okay, that's the lesson I've been sent to learn, I guess.
It's hard. We're like tracking. Okay, what are the patterns? But it's inconsistent. But for sure, Saturdays and Sundays tend to track overall on average better, right? And before we weren't open on Sundays, we were only open on Saturdays. So moving to this space, we shifted that a little bit, and it makes sense, and also trying to stay open later. Again, think about people getting off of work, picking up their kids from school. You want to give them time to come to the space, but definitely the best time of the year is the last quarter, right? The holiday season and December. And December, just people are in that buying spirit and gifting spirit, so they come and we get a lot of sales for December.
Wow, that's great, and I'm picking up a lot of tips to take back.
Yeah.
And speaking of that bridge we want to build, so part of this whole trip is that this is one movement. We want the gente de California want to learn from y'all, and we want to be available for you. So we want this to be the first of several shows in the future. If you just want to chat about some developments or upcoming programs, we'd love that. And then additionally, we're going to trade authors. And on that note, I do want to talk about, we already have some, familia in common. So I was outside and I saw the Flower Song Press book display, because Flower Song Press is based in the Rio Grande Valley. Ruby Guare is the publisher. And last night at the Pico Youth and Family Center, we were throwing down with Macedillo, who's one of the poets published by Flower Song Press. And then at the Latino Bookstore, the next First Friday reading will be October 7th. We're going to feature Flower Song Press. We're calling Flower Song Press Fest. One thing we're doing with Edward, too, is we're going to do a special panel on how to get published.
Wow.
Because he said he's looking for manuscript, but also looking for translators, typesetters, So, right there, we've got already authors in common. What are some other ways you think we can work together?
I think just, the fact that we're having this conversation and are learning a little bit more about each other and trying to deepen that relationship, I think it's fantastic. I think that there's not a lot of us out there. So the more that we could come together and just share resources and knowledge, I think that'd be amazing, I could see us, even doing it would be interesting just to see across the country, how many bookstores, if any.
So you're inviting. You're inviting. We're inviting, right?
Yeah, let's come together. We could have a network conference. It could be virtual. It could be in person one day. Who knows? The sky's the limit. But I think it's not. We're not competition. We're not competing.
Exactly.
There's more than enough to go around. There's more than enough to really focus locally, right, in your own communities, but then also take advantage of the online market. There's no reason that we're in competition and that we can't just share resources, right? Overall, we'll just be able to elevate the community as a whole. Yeah.
I love it. So we're about to take a little tour, and then after the tour, we're going to find out more about you. We're pretending we're not in the house that Luis Rodriguez built.
Yeah.
So we're, but I do admire. Of course, we all admire Luis for many reasons. Down to earth, all about community. I saw a lot of his books. I'm like, he could probably finance the book services just with the book sales. But and of course that's an attraction. But I also admire that he's passed on the reins to you and others because that's clear, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in 2018, I took over as executive director of the organization after
He promoted. Yeah, I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you. So Trini, his wife, had basically run the whole space since the beginning. So I was very honored and humbled to step into this position, but also just like wow, I can't believe it. But then also for that reason, they felt it was time to pass it on, move on. Luis was on the board of directors of the nonprofit. He came off of the board as well. So they really literally pass it on from day to day. They're still involved, of course. The work that Luis does puts them across the country, across the nation, the world. So he's always speaking about it. He's always bringing people here. He's always talking, sharing about it, helping out. He does so much already. And then Trini's on the board now, so she's still involved as well. So yeah, it is again a complete honor, very humbling, and I'm just in awe. They're our mentors, our elders.
Beautiful. And then how many years did that overnight success of yours take?
It took 5 years. It's now 5 years.
Nice.
And yeah. So it took some time.
Okay. So we're gonna take a little walk because I've been talking it up. And 1 second, we're having some technical difficulties. So we may deny the people of the walkthrough, but I do want to let them know that when you walk in, there's that beautiful mural in the back.
Yeah. So we when we moved into the space, we wanted to bring in elements of our first space. Both myself and our associate director, we started there as volunteers. We've been with the organization since the beginning, and there's something very special about the space. All of our spaces have been special, but we wanted to make sure that when we came into the space, we wanted to set the intention in the same way that Luis and Trini and Enrique did, in the sense of you want to walk in and just feel like, wow, there's art everywhere. The colors, the vibrancy, it's not like any other place you've ever walked into, right? And so one of our original co-founders, Enrique Sanchez, who actually helped with some of the design, also helped us with this with the build out. We tore it up, man. We gutted the front area. We took it all the way to the top.
Oh yeah, wow!
We did a lot of work to get it, at least for that open space for the mural. Added a wall specifically for the mural. So we did a lot to get it where it is now. Yeah.
Well, no, you can see the indigenous imagery painted throughout the whole building. You've got arches that look like indigenous architecture, which is fantastic. Tell us a little about the artists on the wall, because those are some beautiful paintings.
Yeah, so again, as a cultural arts center, we want to make sure we highlight the work and the artists. So we have, throughout the space, we have work that has been done in our classes with our youth. And then we also have, various artists. We have an art gallery where we're highlighting artists. So right now we have a local artist, Alvia. But then we also have Rick Ortega, who also grew up around here, was living around here, and he has amazing art, and that's kind of what has been our house art for the past year. And then just other artists. We brought in other artists to do a lot of the paintings and the murals, just people that we were fans of, just to get us to again get the space to where we thought it needed to be.
And it is breathtaking. Exactly like you say, when you walk in, you feel at home, but you feel the vibrancy of the art. It's really wonderful to see that mix. And I think, I know for a fact a corporate entity could not replicate that. They can't touch it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you walk through it, and then you can buy cafecito here.
No, we have some drinks like aguas frescas that are made here through one of our programs here that we've been developing over some time. It's part of our step to get us back to having a full coffee shop in our next iteration. So now we're doing like prepackaged drinks, and we're gonna start introducing some foods. But then we have books. We have different consignment items. Just again everything that you would find in a bookstore.
And then I noticed in the hallway, Karen mentioned that you've got the changing exhibit here in the hallway.
Yeah. So we have a space to be able to highlight, again, local artists, different artists in an exhibit that can rotate. And that was an element from our first space that we wanted to bring into the space. Just to have, again, dedicated space for our community members to see, appreciate art, but then also for others to highlight their own artwork as artists.
And I think right here, we're actually in one of the classrooms. So folks may see behind me the guitarras. You got drums over there.
Yeah, so this is actually our dedicated classroom space where we do all of our programming. We do music, visual arts, and that happens usually every day. Right now, we're shifting stuff around because we have Centeno is going to be joining us today, so we made some room in our main space and we moved the books in here for now. I just saw the children's books.
So she's got her new collection of poetry, One
Yeah.
Without Shame, coming out.
Yeah.
So you move these to make room.
Yeah, just because we've been getting, people are so excited that she's coming again. Talking about book deserts, right? This is not necessarily the community that people would think that she would come to.
Right.
But here she is, she's coming, again, that access that you talked about earlier, right? So important to our community, so important to our families, to be able to provide that. So we're very honored and excited that she's coming by.
Well, no, and likewise, in San Antonio, she specifically asked for the Latino Bookstore to provide book sales for her big event with Texas Public Radio.
Yeah.
And again, like you're saying, it's if she doesn't directly ask for that, doesn't happen,
Right.
and that packs a punch. And like you said, there'll be enough people where they'll try to come in. So that's fantastic. Other ways to support, of course, is for authors to say, hey,
Yeah.
now that they're getting published by corporate publishing, to come here.
Exactly, yeah, and we've been in the past also like at large, like the LA Times Book Festival, we've been able to provide the books for like the OI stage, which is like the Spanish speaking stage for authors. Yeah, there's definitely ways. One big thing is just like going back to the bookstore, is institutional sales, right? So like anytime an institution, nonprofit organization needs books, if they're able to order the books through us, and we're talking, like if they need to order 20 to like 100 books, that's a great way that supports the bookstore.
That's fantastic. So especially if you're teaching ethnic studies
Yeah,
and want one of the writers,
Right.
that's a great way to do
yeah, or even let the students know that they could buy the books here, right? Instead of the bookstore, their campus bookstore.
Well, I tell you what, I think we have our tech up now, and we tease people with it. So let's go ahead and deliver on the tour. Well, tell us a little about this room. And actually, we should give shouts out to a lot of our friends. Joe Loya, the man who threw his prison cell. Of course, he's one of our buddies. So that's cool to see his book here. And then, of course, Maria Hinojosa, Once I Was You. So a few shout outs to Maria Hinojosa. Once I Was You. So one of our dear friends, and I'm not going to be able to touch every single book. But of course, the man who threw his prison cell, Joe Loya. We had him over at Nuestra
nice.
Palabra in
Yeah.
Houston when the book came out.
Oh, awesome! We just had them like maybe a month ago.
That's too cool. Tell us all about this as the classroom and what's going on in here.
Yeah, so this is where we have all of our programming, our seasonal arts classes, cultural arts classes. So we have guitar is a big one, a popular one. Again, like people just want to have access to those types of classes, right? Son Jarocho, which is music from Veracruz, that's very popular. We have some congas for some of our other classes, and then we also do a lot of visual arts. Just all of our classes, and usually it's Monday through Thursday. But if we also have workshops, it's also another space we can have workshops. But then also during the day, during the week, the staff also utilizes space for like media space and just to get work done. So.
And Brian's panning us through. In fact, no, you didn't get a shot of Roberto Lovato's book. Roberto's our boy. make sure you get some of that. But the other thing I want to talk about is that what I love about this, looking at the musical instruments, it's actually this would be for ethnic studies and book lovers, but there could be business programs studying this. Yeah, this is how you reach the community. Tell us about this painting before we go to the other room.
Yeah, so this was done at, again, one of our partner sites with a group of youth and one of our local community artists, and this was the 8 to 10 week class, and this was the piece that they did.
Beautiful, and I love the painting imagery throughout the center. You pick the colors, and you've got the different iconography. It's fantastic. I'm gonna pretend I own the place and open the door and lead us out. We're actually starting from the middle, but I'd love to talk about these instruments and then tell us about that art exhibit before we go on into the
Yeah, so these are our jaranas, again, from our Son Jarocho classes. We have some in there as well. And here, these are instruments from Veracruz and part of our seasonal arts programming.
I love this arch.
Yeah.
Let's get a shot of this arch.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this was, again, Enrique Sanchez, one of our co-founders. We wanted to bring back, this was kind of some similar design to our first space, our original space. So we wanted to kind of honor that space and bring elements of that into this space. And this was a great, again, we like knocked it out, added this, and then it just made sense. And this would be our gallery wall.
So it's beautiful. So you actually added these arches, which have that allusion to our earlier indigenous cultures.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna walk you closer.
Yeah.
Stay close to the mic on the camera there.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
Yeah, so we have an exhibit here from, this is one of our teaching artists, Alvia Aguirre. This is her exhibit that's been going on for the past month. It's gonna have their closing reception next week. Again, she's one of our teaching artists that does a lot of classes with us. She also does a lot of work with the work that we do going into the camps and halls. And it's just a great opportunity, you know, just to kind of showcase her work. Some of these paintings are some of the work that happens in some of these classes. They kind of teach kind of that style as well. So again, it's another opportunity to highlight our local community.
And this rotates. It changes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Fantastic. So take us on to this room.
So this is our community space, our bookstore space. Again, we're getting ready for the San de los Cisneros event. So we have about 70 chairs right now. We're expecting a great turnout. Yes, we have some of the art that we were mentioning a little earlier is over here, like on the walls, right? It's kind of like considered, again, our house art. And then if we move this way a little, then we have our community mural that we were talking about, our register area, deli area. We're going to start having more, again, prepackaged goods, stuff like that. But essentially, this is the bookstore. Again, like we make shifts, right? Like multi-purpose. So it's our bookstore area during most of the day and most of the time, and then we utilize this space for our community space where we also have like our open mic events and author readings and other kinds of events.
So I want you to get a good shot of the mural and break it down for us. Because right when you walk in, it is very, very breathtaking.
Yeah, so this mural was done by Cali Arte. They're a family of artists and muralists. And so for this process, it was really cool because they essentially, you know, we knew we wanted them to do it. We knew we wanted them to do the piece for us. And so then we started with having a dialogue and around just what are some ideas and themes. What does CHHS mean to you? What are some words that come to mind? Senses again, and then they essentially developed a couple proposals and pieces, and this is what we landed on.
It's beautiful. And again, what I love is you see the arches continue. You continue the iconography along the walls. The colors are very captivating as well, but it's all these subtexts, you know. I want to get a shot of the Flower Song Press display, which is what I'm calling it. So David Romero will be one of the performers from Califas that will be hosting at the Latino Bookstore at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center in San Antonio. And then you've got Matt Cedillo's book there, sitting on the second floor as well. Flower Song Press in the house. Of course, Luis Rodriguez's book, Music of the Mill. Actually, I remember we hosted him in Houston when that book came out,
nice.
Which was fantastic. And of course, he'll do. I want to point one thing too out. One thing that happens is that, of course, we want someone like Luis to come because it's going to draw people.
Yeah.
But he will go to a school.
Right.
And I've heard sometimes corporate publishers say, "I've been asked this. Why is the author going to a school? Will those kids buy books?" Right? So I love it because he makes that important to do. And this whole place is about community. If you could kindly walk us through these amazing paintings as well.
Yeah, so this was the artwork, as I mentioned, by artist Rick Ortega. He's been a longtime friend of ours, a supporter. And so when we had our grand opening last year, it just made sense to bring some of his big. I asked him if he could bring some of his big pieces, and it ended up just becoming our house art for the year because they're just so breathtaking.
Yeah. That's what Xochipilli is, just amazing.
Yeah, and it makes sense just to be that focal point when you walk in, right? It just kind of draws your attention to that piece. So we're very fortunate and excited about that.
Well, and actually, you mentioned Sandra will be reading here tonight. Here you have her new book, Women Without Shame. Of course, her classic with the house on Mango Street. But I love that it'll be right in front of the work of art as well, the painting as well. And then walk us through some of the other sections and some of the other. I love the little decorations.
Yeah, we're very big on Halloween, so we try to dress up this place, but it's a much bigger space, so we're like, we need more decorations. We have some of our bargain books, our books in Spanish. We have, again, Luis's section, Chucha Press, our young adults, graphic novels.
Oh, and is Chucha Press based here?
Yeah. So Chucha Press is under the organization, under the umbrella of the nonprofit.
I actually want to touch Claudia's books. So you have Claudia's books up there?
Yeah.
Because actually because of Luis, we hosted her in Houston. So, so actually, because of course, we got this awesome New Salvadoran poet. In Houston, Texas, there's a big growing Central American community, a lot of Salvadorans, especially in the Gulfin area. So then Claudia was down with it. She came out to Houston, then hit Austin, and then culminated at the Latino Bookstore in San Antonio. But if the Chucha Press doesn't publish the book, and like you said, we need to trade ideas, we would not have heard about it also.
Right.
And then Luis knew she was game because you mentioned, and we've talked about the struggle of keeping a bookstore going. Driving 3 hours city to city, not everybody's going to do that.
Right.
But she beat right in. So I'd love to get to the Chucha Press part, and I'm asking Brian to navigate walking through, and here you got Luis's books. That's awesome.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a popular section in our store.
Republica Vista Ley. I remember these short story collections, and you got them wrapped up. Oh yeah,
So it's a bundle. Yeah.
That's very cool. I love it. He's got his own section. And then Always Running. It calls you back. A picture of Luis, because we're in Luis's house. And then Chucha Press. Of course, our dear friend Claudia Castro Luna. Cipota Under the Moon. And, Michael, we had to break it down because, okay, if y'all don't team up for this place is not here. We're not visiting. She's not published. And when we went to the Gulfton area, there were young folks from our community. They don't know we went through all that. People were crying. Wow. People were touched when they got to hear that. And here, salvadoreños, cuando escuchen la palabra cipota, les toca el corazón profundamente, man.
Yeah.
So, because y'all doing that, we're happy to team up with you. You feel that legacy and responsibility when you're coming to work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think I dealt with that early on, but I think, it's a little bit more easier now.
I love it. Well, I tell you what, you've got the children's book section here. Phones are ringing. People getting for Sandra. We're taking a lot of time. Close this up by telling us a little bit about you, because it sounds like you were attracted here. You didn't say, hey, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a job someday there. You came because your heart drew you here and you felt a sense of place. Tell us a little bit about that.
So it's funny. I was drawn by a daily news article that I had read that said, this local community space for artists, and I was like, well, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an artist, I'm gonna go check it out. And I came, and we just started talking about, could you possibly show films? And I was like, yeah. And that's how it happened. I started volunteering, and then again, just what I talked about earlier, just organically the whole space became this beacon for this community. And over the years, I was hired on part-time, and then eventually did leave, came back on the board, then a consultant, development director, then executive director. So it's been an amazing journey, and again, I'm just so super humbled about it, and I'm excited to where we're going to take it from here.
That's exciting, and I mean, on the practical level too. There's folks that work here now.
Yeah, our team has grown significantly from having a very small staff and team of volunteers to again the largest staff we've ever had now, and just an amazing team overall. And so it's just really exciting.
Well, as we close out, do me a favor, give the folks one more time the address, the phone numbers, the websites.
Yeah, so Chucha Centro Cultural, it's at 12677 Glen Oaks Boulevard, Silmar, California, 91342. You could visit us at theachucha.org, theachucha.org/bookstore. You could go there to see any of the online bookstore, order any books. You could reach us at info@theachucha.org. Our phone number is area code 818-939-3433. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out or email us or visit our website.
I love it. Well, as we close out, man, that's it. You let book smugglers and book lovers into the store. Some fantastic books. I want to give a shout out to Libro Traficante High Tech Aztec. He's working the camera, and we are shooting this on the road. So they couldn't come on screen because they're making sure this happens. Also, shout out to Libro Traficante Liana Lopez, who's actually also producing on that other side. Back in Houston, Texas, because Tejanos are in the house anyways, all over the place. We got Rodrigo Bravo, who's going to edit this for our radio broadcast, and also Roxana Guzman, who's one of our multimedia producers. We got the whole team out there, other co-founders of Libro Traficantes, Lupe Mendez, who's now Poet Laureate of Texas, and then Laura Acosta as well. Hey, I'm Tony Diaz, and Libro Traficante. Happy to join you on the road as we end book bans and book deserts. Califas in Texas, united forever. Thanks for tuning in. Pick up a book. Gracias. Cool. All right. I guess you got to ring me up for all these. Too cool. This is cool. I haven't heard about